Yeah, it's a beautiful June 12, 2020. So we're out on the North Fork of Long Island. It's the Mainline, exploring a little bit here. Right now at the crossing of Edgar Avenue, this area right here was the former site of the Aquebogue station. It was created on the railroad in 1892. There was a depot that was built here in 1910. It was gutted in 1958 and a shelter was put in place. And the entire station was torn down in 1967. We're looking east towards Greenport. Doesn't look like it was much of a station. I'm told it was just a short platform with 2 light poles. And we're further east, the corner of North Railroad Avenue and Washington Avenue in Jamesport. This is the block limit signal here. Call letters R, just one letter. We're looking east. And on the left of the roadbed here, you can see the old platform of the old station. Station here at Jamesport was terminated in 1984. A lot of these towns out here on the North Fork, in addition to the train, were served by road and rail buses. They were Long Island Railroad painted buses that operated out east on the South Fork and the North Fork. Those road and rail buses used to supplement the train service, and they stopped at all the towns that the train stopped at. That road and rail service was ended in 1982. Here's a very striking landmark here in Jamesport. Should open soon, I hope. Now, the quaintness of downtown Jamesport. One of my favorite memories of this town years ago, there used to be a place here called Ye Old Coffee Shop. Served 3 square meals a day. The food was delicious. It was run by 2 old ladies, and there were cats all over the place. It was an early version of a cat cafe. I believe years ago this corner was where the road and rail bus stopped here in Jamesport. This is the pastoral Laurel Lane crossing in the town of Laurel. This wide open spot here looks like it might have been the former site of the Laurel station. This town was originally named Franklinville, but in 1898 it was renamed Laurel, named after a nearby lake. It was renamed because there's already a Franklinville located in Cattaraugus County, way out in western New York State. Beautiful setting here. Not all of Long Island is overpopulated. There's milepost 80. We're looking east on the main line. This station was a very small platform like Aquebogue. It was discontinued in 1967. There really was very poor patronage here. In fact, there was no commuters at all going into New York from here. So it was pretty much just a name on a timetable, but it didn't do much in the way of revenue. Mail and newspapers were served out here up until 1966 or 67, but that was dropped. It was pretty much transported out here on the morning Greenport train going east and the afternoon train going west. That service was dropped in the mid-60s and the station was gone in 67. We're further east at the next town, which still has an active station, Mattituck. Looking west. This is the site of another 1-letter block limit station, K, looking east. The station is just west of Love Lane, and we're looking down Love Lane towards Route 25. And town's kind of active. There's outdoor dining had on the sidewalk here. These North Fork towns don't quite have the hustle and bustle of the South Fork towns, such as the Hamptons and Montauk. So they still, maintain some semblance of order, rather than the disorganized chaos on the South Fork in the summertime. Consequently, rail service to the North Fork is minimal compared to the South Fork. We're now further east at the Depot Lane crossing in Cutchogue. The depot is right here, east of the crossing. Depot opened in 1844 and was discontinued in 1962. Looking east on the main line. We're now further east at the next site of a former station, Peconic, on Peconic Avenue. And here is the old post office. And we're looking west on the main line from the Peconic Lane crossing. Railroad got to Peconic back in 1848, although some think it was 1844 when Greenport was reached. This town used to be called Hermitage, but in the late 19th century it was renamed Peconic. The most recent station that was here was located on the south side of the tracks just west of this crossing. Station was discontinued in 1970, outlasted Aquebogue and Laurel by 3 years. Looking east on the main line from the crossing. Very quaint out here still. Peconic, like other neighboring towns, are deep in wine vineyard country. And one of the striking landmarks in the village of Southold, in the township of Southold, is St. Patrick's Roman Catholic Church. Stunning. This is the Youngs Avenue grade crossing in the town of Southold and the village of Southold, just east of the train station in Southold, which is still active. Looking west from the station platform here is SD Block Limit Station. This high platform was built in the 90s to accommodate the double-decker cars. Not a very long platform, but then again, they don't need them. The trains are short out here, 1 or 2 cars. Southold was reached in 1844. The station was built back then. It was rebuilt in 1869 and 1872, and it was subsequently closed in 1958, and it was torn down in 1962. This is the main station in the area since the Peconic station closed in 1970. And the station here at Southold is located at the corner of Youngs Avenue and Traveler Street. Youngs Avenue used to be a stop for the road and rail buses that the Long Island Railroad operated. Those buses ran from 1962 to 1982. We're now further east between Southold and Greenport in the community of Beixadon. And our location is the Route 25 bridge over Hashamomuck Pond. Going to see train 250 en route from Ronkonkoma to Greenport. Now at the terminal on the main line at the far reaches of the North Fork. Greenport, reached in 1844. This used to be a jumping off point for ferry boats to Stonington, Connecticut, where you could access the New Haven Railroad tracks to go to Boston. This was part of a rail water route from New York to Boston. But when the New Haven Railroad built across southern Connecticut from New York, that spelled the end of the ferry service from here, and Greenport became pretty much a dead-end terminal. This is train 251, getting ready to pull out at 2:43 p.m. Looking west at the 4th Street Greenport Depot, which was built back in 1892. It had a ticket office in here until 1967. For a while it was known as the Whalers Museum of Long Island. And that bumper block is the absolute east end of the main line. Notice the dock here on the right. Tracks went out onto the dock up until 1978. That's quite a yacht. Ooh. They have some big bucks. And here at Greenport are frequent ferry boats to Shelter Island. That's part of New York Route 114. Runs from here to East Hampton on the South Fork. Shelter Island is in the background. And looking at the depot building from the dock where there were once railroad tracks. Right away we have the second ferry that's operating right now, heading for Shelter Island. This boat is called the Manhasset, not Manhasset. And we're just west of the 5th Street crossing in Greenport. You can see 251 getting ready to pull out in a few minutes. Departs at 2:43. Right now the crew is getting a K card filled out to give them permission to pass by the block limit stations. If they don't get the K card, they have to approach each block limit station prepared to stop. And right on time, he's pulling out of Greenport, headed for Ronkonkoma. He's about to knock the gates down on 5th Street. And right at that crossing, he's passing the GY block limit signal. Next stop, Southold.